High school wasn't easy for me. I was lazy, I was unmotivated, and I failed exam after exam after exam. But honestly, and I really mean this, I wouldn't have it any other way, because this failure, it built up a level of motivation and passion within me. You could say it's my why, it's what drives me, because I can sympathize on a truly deep level the problems that students that are struggling with their grades are going through. Because for most of my educational career, I was in that position too. You see, at high school, I struggled massively with procrastination. It was like whenever I needed to study, every part of my body was trying to make me do anything else but study. I'd binge watch YouTube, I'd play video games, I'd check the fridge 10 times a day just to see if there was anything to eat. I wasn't hungry, it's just that I would do anything else but study. And that was at high school. A few years later at university, I was a completely different person. In terms of my studying, I was the complete opposite. I was consistently achieving grades in the top 5% of my university because I fell in love with studying. Well, I fell in love with learning. The word studying has a negative connotation, so I shifted my mindset from it's time to study to it's time to learn. That alone was a huge mindset shift, and I talk about that in the Priming Your Mindset lesson because for a lot of students, studying is a negative thing. Studying is something that you have to do. You kind of have no choice, right? But by the end of this course, my aim is to have you looking at your studies in a positive light, because studying really is a beautiful thing. When we're studying, we're learning, we're becoming more knowledgeable, we're growing, we're becoming stronger, we're becoming more capable, we're opening doors to opportunities we wouldn't otherwise have. And I don't recall who said it, but there's a quote, education is the great equalizer, and I couldn't agree more with it, because studying is an amazing thing, and by the end of this course, I aim to have you falling in love with your studying again. You see, that's exactly what happened with me. Between high school and university, I took 3 years out of education. I took 3 years out for 2 reasons. First and foremost, I graduated high school with a 1.3 GPA, so out of 5 universities that I applied for, only 1 accepted me, and that university was one of the lowest ranked universities in the country, so I could either go to that university or not go to university at all. And the second reason was because, honestly, I was depressed. I was disappointed with myself. How could I have spent like 13 years studying at school and then not even be accepted into a decent university, right? So I used this depression, this deep disappointment to fuel motivation to turn my life around and research how high performance students do it. I was so fired up, I was so motivated, I was absolutely driven to prove to myself that I could make something of my life. And so I spent the next 3 years researching how do high performance students achieve A grades? How do they perform in the top of their class? What do they do differently that average performing students don't do? I read books on how to achieve A grades. I read scientific papers on memory retention. I sifted through student forums to find out how other high performance students manage to achieve the grades that they're achieving. I listened to podcasts. I watched documentaries. For 3 years, I was obsessed, and it took 3 years of researching and learning how to study effectively, the study techniques, the daily productivity habits, the memory techniques, the mindset strategies. I found that all of these tools were in the toolbox of a high performance student that helped them achieve a 4.0 GPA, that helped them achieve A grades. So eventually, 3 years after leaving high school, I was finally accepted into university, and that's when everything kind of just clicked into place for me. I finally got it. It was like a eureka moment. High performance students don't just study hard, but they study smart. Studying hard just often isn't enough, but these students study smart, they study efficiently. They might only study for 5 hours a day or 6 hours a day, but those 6 hours are 100% laser focused. They're 100% in the zone during this time. And so they process and retain more information in those 6 hours than other students would learn in 9 or 10 hours of studying. And that's what study smart, study hard means. I have trained thousands of students all around the world on how to study smart and how to graduate in the top 1% of the class. And so I get it. I know what problems the average student is facing. I know the most common reasons why they're struggling with procrastination and struggling to achieve high grades. And the number of students that come to me and tell me, I've been studying and studying every day, but I'm still not getting decent grades. And 95% of the time, it's because they're studying hard, but they're not necessarily studying smart. And so I put what I learned to the test. My first exam at university, a 4.0 GPA, the second exam, a 4.0 GPA, the third exam, a 4.0 GPA. And the next exam and the next exam, and I can't really explain to you how much of a euphoric feeling this was, where I'd been struggling with studying my whole educational career. For 13 years of studying at school, I struggled with procrastination, I struggled with distractions, and then suddenly I was getting these crazy high grades that I didn't even think were possible. So now it's your turn.